Hey Shannon, how are you doing? It's great to see you. Hello everybody, how are you? Happy Wednesday. Please let me know where you are tuning in from in the comments. I'm trying to get better at going live when people are actually on. Hey Lakitha, I hope I'm saying your name right. How are you? Hello Tube Sky, how are you? Thank you for joining. So for those who may not, of course, there's a loud motorcycle that goes by as soon as I start talking. So for those who do not know, my name is Tanisha Johnson, aka TJ Self Care. I'm the founder of TJ Self Care, and I'm also your codependency expert. Hey, how are you doing? After Tiffany, good to see you. So today we are talking about when does healing start. Shannon said I'm hanging in there. Hello. Hey, I definitely hear you about the hanging in there. So maybe this is a good topic then. So I wanted to just touch base on, when exactly can we expect healing to start? So a lot of people always ask me, hi Crystal, they ask me, how do we know when we're healing? How do we know when things are quote unquote getting better? And so I just wanted to give some tips and just have like an open conversation about it. So most of the time for people who struggle with codependency and people pleasing, so for those of you who do not know, that is my expertise. That's what my page is all about. Helping people who struggle with people pleasing and codependency to know their worth, know their value, and have their voice. And so for us, it's a struggle when we are trying to figure out, what does it look like to heal? What does it look like to set boundaries? And what does it look like to kind of step into this new arena of thinking, making decisions for ourselves, etc., etc. So ultimately, we know, you're healing when you feel like you have hit rock bottom. So if you feel like your life has hit rock bottom and you don't know what to do about it, and you find yourself like very tearful, crying, feeling exhausted, feeling scared about the next steps, feeling like everybody around you is like leaving you, then I actually want to say congratulations. You have started your healing journey. This is the real journey. I know that, if you have been, feeling like you are at rock bottom, put a 1 in the chat just so I know who's in the room. But if you have also, been feeling like you making all these steps towards setting boundaries and things are getting worse, then I want to welcome you to healing. If you feel like you are losing your friends, you're losing your family and loved ones, I want to welcome you to healing. So go on and have a seat. I am here with you. The first stages of healing can be, I don't want to say are, but for some of us, they can be very unpleasant experiences that happen. So I like to talk about the why. I spent years, literally years, in therapy. I went to 12-step groups trying to heal from codependency for over 5 years. And the one thing I was searching for was the why. And so that's why I like to give you the why. Why you are feeling these things is because, believe it or not, you're actually going through a period of grieving. So when I used to hear about grief, or people used to talk about grief, I kind of always assumed that it was always connected to, somebody dying, somebody passing on, and we're grieving that person, or we're mourning that person, whichever stage you feel like you're in, right? But grief is actually something that we can experience at any part of life. And in particular, when you start to heal from people pleasing and codependency, we are grieving the life that we wish we had. Some of us are grieving the life that we know we deserve. And some of us are just grieving the fact that we have lived as people pleasers, codependents for a really long time. For some of us, all of our life. And what we find is that plateau that we hit when we feel like we're exhausted, we're tired, you know, our relationships are changing with people, our friendships are changing with people. All of those things are happening because we are changing. We essentially are the change that's happening in the dynamic. I know a lot of times when we get caught in situations with people, it feels like, well, this person did this and this person did this, and that's the reason why, you know, I had to stand up for myself or I had to set the boundary. But just by you setting the boundary, you're changing the dynamic of that relationship, because that person's not used to you setting boundaries. That person's not used to being the one that has to call you all the time. That person's not used to, you know, you speaking up for yourself. All these new things that you are doing, the people in your relationships are not used to you doing it. And so that change creates this dynamic in the relationship where the person doesn't necessarily know how to go about treating you. They feel like they don't know how to connect to you. They feel like they don't know how to engage with you. And it can make them feel like, you know, well, is this still my friend? Is this still my partner? Is this still my coworker? You know, whoever we're in relationship with. Now, I'm not saying that so that you now change your tune and morph back into the person that they know. I'm saying it so that you know what's going on their end as well as yours. Now, the next step is, how do we then continue to walk into these new people that we need to be, that we want to be, while we're still in these relationships? And that will look like you accepting that this change has to happen. And that's hard work. It's hard to accept that you have been the strong person in this relationship. It's hard to accept that you have been the person that has held all the pieces together, or, you know, whatever the dynamic was. But once we lean into that acceptance, it opens up a world for us to really ask ourselves, what do we want our life to look like right now? You know, how do we want these relationships to change right now? Oh, hey sis, thank you for joining. Hey Maria. And that self-awareness piece is the piece that actually helps us start to heal. And so the very thing that we feel fearful about can actually be a pivotal moment in our lives where we finally put the focus back on us, right? So when we start to ask ourselves, you know, when does the healing start? Well, it starts by us first grieving what we didn't have, you know. I want you to think about it tonight, you know, when you're by yourself, or if you have a moment now, you know, when you were a little girl or a little boy, when you were younger, what did you want your life to look like? You know, if you had a diary or a journal, what did you write in there? Or if you had thoughts, what did you want your life to look like? And then how did that now come to existence as you got older? We have to grieve those moments. You know, the same person that you were at 5 and 6 years old, you're still that person at 30, 40, 50, and 60. You're just older, you have more experiences. But we tend to say, I'm an adult now, so everything that I wanted, everything that I used to dream about, everything that I used to think is no longer relevant. That's over. I am over that. That's what we say. But what happens is our subconscious, which is those younger versions of ourselves that remember the pain, remember the sadness, remember the confusion, remember everything, they are the ones that are running our lives now. So when we see our life in chaos and shambles, and, you know, thank you, Shannon. Shannon said, we strong ones get tired too. We do. Hey, Christina, thank you for joining. But when we see our life in these shambles, right, or maybe not even shambles, but we see things happening that we don't necessarily understand, that those younger sides of us, they understand. right? I couldn't understand for the life of me why, when it was time to do notes for my job, because, you know, in my 9 to 5, I'm a social worker, like I'm a clinical social worker. And so I was like, why is it so difficult for me to write a 1-page note about a client? But when it comes to creating stories about healing and life and sharing my journey and all of those things, I could write all night. I mean, when I was in grad school reading all these clinical books and stuff like that, we would have like I would have like 20-30 page papers due, and I would wait. If the paper would be due like on a Saturday, and I would wait till like Tuesday doing it. And it was almost like it was some kind of kick of excitement I got, staying up late all night eating eating ice cream and Lay's potato chips, sour cream, of course, you know, that's my favorite. Anyway, I digress. But I just got this kick out of this, right? Couldn't understand it for the life of me. Now that I have this self-awareness, I'm like, oh, staying up writing those papers was exciting to that younger version of Tanisha, because that's all she used to do. I used to write. I used to ride the bus all the time. I had a journal in my backpack, and I would just take out my journal and I would be writing, just smiling to myself. You know, we were like, it was me, my mom, and my great aunt. We lived in like a 1-bedroom apartment. And I remember on the bus, I would pass by all these Victorian houses and stuff. And I would envision that, you know, I lived in one of those fancy houses, and I would just be writing about what my house looked like, and, you know, coping mechanism or whatever for a 12-year-old kid, right? But that piece of me was still there. So when it came to writing a 1-page note, I would be like, oh my God. But when it came to writing something like exciting, I would just be all storytelling. I was all into it, right? So I had to merge that side of myself to get myself to understand, if we don't write this 1-page note, we ain't gonna be able to write these stories, sis. So I'm gonna need you to really try to focus on these notes, right? And of course, I'm always sharing my silly examples, but I'm sharing the example to let you know that that's actually that's where the healing starts. You know what I'm saying? Like, as people pleasers, we have to first understand that that was a whole life that consumed us. You know, this is not a hard thing, or this isn't an easy thing, I should say, to sit down and accept. Some people don't want to accept that they have been people pleasers, that they have been enabling people, that they've been controlling, caretakers. Trust me, all these words used to activate me to my soul, and I would defend myself to the end. You know, when people would say, well, you're a people pleaser, you're an enabler, you're controlling. No, I'm not. And I would go on these long, drawn out tangents defending myself, to the point where my friends and family would either give me space or they would stop talking to me about the subject. Right? And that's what many people do, right? They just don't talk to us anymore about the subject. But that's not helpful. It wasn't until I had to grieve what I did not have in order for me to accept. Like, okay, yes, I did have a different vision for my life. The way things are right now, I don't like. So then the question becomes, what do we want them to look like? You know, what do you want your healing journey to look like? You know, we can spend a lifetime defending ourselves, avoiding hard topics, and get nowhere, and have mediocre relationships, and not have true, authentic lives that speak to us. Or we can choose to accept the hard things and see where it takes us. And that is a road that a lot of people do not travel. You know, they do not travel. But to answer the question, though, that I get in my inbox so much, when does the healing start? It starts when you start to accept the reality of your life. Thank you so much for Sweet Jones said, girl, you preaching. There's nothing wrong with you saying, I struggle with people pleasing. There's nothing wrong with that. So if any of you have ever gone to a support group, like NA, AA, or any type of like recovery group, when you start, you generally start by saying your name, and then you say, you know, what you're there for, whatever, what you struggle with. So it's like that one time I said, I'm Tanisha, and I struggle with people pleasing and codependency. That changed the whole trajectory of my life. Because I was going to those groups, and I was just sitting there listening to people. And in my mind, I was like, I'm just here to get information. Hey, Tina, it's great to see you. Hey, Dion Warrior. I was like, I'm just here to get information. I am not a part of these people. I think this is great that they found a community where they feel supported and they're, you know, and they're open, but that's not me. I just need to get a little information about what codependency is and what people pleasing is, and then I'm good. I'm going to take this information and I'm going to do what I need to do with it. That's what I said. And I did that from like, I started going to those support groups at 29, 30. I think I was 29. Man, it was like 11 years ago. But I did that from 29 to about 34. And then one year I went and it came to me. And I just had a face full of tears. And I said, hi, my name is Tanisha Johnson, and I struggle with people pleasing, codependency, and overeating. And everybody was like, welcome, Tanisha. And it just felt like a relief, like, whew. And I remember the lady next to me, like, I didn't even know her. Like, she had got me some tissue, and then, like, she held my hand, and, like, I just went and asked her if I can give her a hug, because I was just so full with, like, I was embarrassed. I was sad. I was, like, just in shock, like, man, I can't believe I'm really sitting here in this group, like telling these people this stuff. But that was the very first moment that I felt like, wow, I actually did it. Like, I felt like I had accomplished something. And it was at that moment that I started to heal. It's like when we are not being true to ourselves, it's almost like you're denying that part of yourself. And that's why I walk in my emotions, no matter what it is, no matter how dark it is. And I encourage people too. I mean, I understand like being optimistic. Don't get me wrong. Being optimistic, like it's proven, like research has shown certain words do bring on certain energy. But for me, when it comes to healing, and I just want you to be mindful too, like you have to blend in some of that stuff in order for you to really accept where you are. If I would have continued to just tell myself, oh, you know, I'm all right, and yeah, I just struggle with a little bit of people pleasing, you know, from time to time, but I'm getting better, and I'm setting my boundaries, and I'm not letting people walk over me, and I'm doing this, and I'm doing this, and that's great. But it's also in that same story, you can also say, I've struggled with people pleasing, and it really ruined my life. I wish I would have known this information 10 years ago. Before I got in this toxic relationship, before I got married. I wish I would have realized that my parents didn't have the tools to love me before I spent my entire life seeking that out from them. I wish I would have known myself before I got into this job, before I got into this relationship. It's okay to hold space for yourself. It's called reparenting, y'all. You know what I'm saying? Some people say self-parenting, whichever phrase you feel comfortable with. But it's like we have to be able to have these hard conversations with ourselves, because that's how you grow emotionally. You know what I'm saying? Like, we don't grow emotionally by denying ourselves and denying our truths. We grow emotionally by being honest with ourselves about it. Can y'all hear me? My thing went out. But we grow emotionally by honoring ourselves, asking ourselves how we feel, and then asking ourselves, what do we want to do about it? what is this teaching me, right? Every decision that we make, every experience that we have, what is it teaching me about myself that I can now use to better myself? That's how we heal. And that's how we have these authentic relationships with ourselves that essentially will blend out into all our relationships, right? It's like if you're ready to have like fun, genuine relationships with people, put a 1 in the chat so that I know who's here. Like, if that's what we want, that first has to start with us. Oh, hey sis, thank you for joining. Hey D. That starts with us first. It's like once you have that genuine relationship with yourself, that's when you have it with everybody else. And let me tell you, it's much easier. It's much easier for me to accept feedback from people now. I was recently in a situation where somebody told me, Tanisha, you always cancel every time we go out. And my first response is, what the hell is she talking about? I give and give and give to everybody. If anything, I need to be saying no more. And then, I thought about it. And I said, well, maybe this is true. Maybe parts of this is true. Right? So what could make this true? And having that dialogue with myself helped me understand, oh, well, I'm not really setting boundaries in this friendship. Like, I'm doing more than I need to do. And I guess maybe subconsciously is now manifested into me like canceling or just avoiding the call altogether when I see it because it's too much for me to endure. So it's like being able to have that back and forth dialogue with myself. I came to the understanding like, okay, I actually need to apologize to this friend. Now, it doesn't mean that I now change what I'm doing and I just give in, and anytime she wants to go out, I'm there. Anytime she wants to talk, I'm there. But it does mean it's time to set a boundary. I apologize for how I was treating you, and I also see that I actually cannot be that friend that can talk to you for this amount of time every single day. I'm not that friend that you can lean on daily for advice and tips and stuff, right? So it's like when we start to identify what we need, it helps us better understand for ourselves, which helps us better communicate our feelings and needs to other people, right? Hey, Roche, thank you for joining. And so that's one of the reasons why, I teach this, I share this. I just want people to really understand that setting boundaries does not have to be this rigid thing where we're angry and upset and I can't believe, this person would even ask me this and they're taking advantage of me and stuff. We have to reclaim this power. It's conversations like that, setting boundaries like that, you're giving other people the power. And you're operating in that younger version of yourself that doesn't have the same experiences that you've had, that doesn't have the knowledge that you now have as an adult. Rigid boundary settings is pretty much, that's just you letting your younger child run amok. And I'm just being honest with you. I'm being honest because I love you. Like, you're just letting your inner child just run the show. Avoiding people, blocking people. But at the same time, asking yourself, why do I resort to this every time somebody does something to me? That's a very uncomfortable place to be. But that's also where the healing starts. The healing starts with self-awareness. When we sit back and we ask ourselves, why am I doing this? What is my role in this? Even when people are hurting us, we have a role. Why are we allowing it? How did we get in this relationship? From the beginning. What did we see in this person that drew us to them like a moth to a flame? Because until you get that straight, you will just find yourself meeting the same people with different faces and different names. That's what we do. You know, healing is just like, we'll keep going around and around and around, just like a little, with those little mazes, until eventually we see the pattern. And so now I'm asking you, genuinely, what's the pattern that you see in your own life? And if you are one of those people that was like me 10 years ago, that's just done, I want to say welcome to healing. You know, you get tired of going around and around in that pattern. Trust me. You know, being in that type of dynamic with yourself, it's exhausting. You know, you're trying, you're setting boundaries with one group of people. You're not talking to another group of people. Then you're trying to seek out and meet new people. But you're using the same tools that you had with the people that you're now not in relationship with, right? So now it's like subconsciously we're waiting on the shoe to fall. Oh, this person's late to dinner. They're not a real friend. Oh, this partner, they didn't text me back within X amount of time. It's not going to work out. And this is all happening in the subconscious. The reason why I keep talking about self-awareness is because when you sit down with yourself and you start to build that relationship with yourself and you grieve the life that you had, when you did feel helpless, you did feel lost, you did feel confused, you did feel like nobody cared about you. When you sit down with yourself and allow yourself to go through that grief, you start to build up that self-awareness. When we build self-awareness, now the subconscious thoughts that's in the back of our brain running the show, they come to the conscious. And when they come to the conscious, that's when you have hit the jackpot of healing. Because now you know why you're doing certain things. You are a part of your own experiences. It's not everybody's hurting me and I don't understand why anymore. The question is, people are hurting me. What do I want to do about this? Why do I keep getting involved in this? You see how it changes to where you start to focus on you versus everybody else. It's almost like if somebody coming in your house, to rob you. Well, you could spend forever and a day at the door with the shotgun. Do you want to do that? Or if you know somebody coming to rob you, do you want to get out of there and get all your valuables out? I'm just saying, which one do we want to do, right? Maybe that was a bad example, but which one do you want to do? Do you want to constantly live on defense mode all the time? Ready to clap back, ready to set a boundary, ready to put somebody in their place, ready to block somebody. And then we calling our friends and telling them all these sad stories. I mean, you let me know what you want to do. Like, do you want to live in that forever? Or do you want to get to a space where you don't even have to worry about setting boundaries because you're surrounded by people that care about you? You're surrounded by people where you can have open dialogue about how you feel and what you need from them and how they can support you on your journey. We have to make a decision. What do we want to do? Do we want to forever be in defense mode using these same tools that we've used all our life? Or do we really want to look at what do I need right now and how can I start to change the trajectory of my own life by making different decisions, by figuring out what does a good friend for me look like, right? Aphrodite said that would be nice. Yeah, It's like, wouldn't it be nice to not always be ready, to defend yourself? It gets exhausting. It gets exhausting. And I'm going to tell you, just like I tell everybody, like, I don't know why all of a sudden it got hot in my apartment, but I'm going to tell you, just like I tell everybody, it got to a point where I literally could not get out the bed. And that scared the crap out of me. But when I go back and when I look at my life back in that was 2014. When I look at 2014, there was a lot of stuff that was happening before that. I always crack jokes to bring some humor. Hey, Mia, how you doing? To bring some humor to these hard conversations. But when I look back at old pictures and stuff, I'm like, okay, Tanisha, it went from weaves to wigs to natural hair and lip gloss. Like, I went from weaves with makeup and lipstick to wigs with lashes and lip gloss to natural hair with Carmex. That tells you something. Now I can clearly see, like, okay, you were getting tired to the point where you didn't even feel like putting yourself together anymore. And it's like, if we can catch these small things about ourselves, it tells us a lot about how we're feeling and how life is really impacting us, right? So a lot of people talk about intergenerational trauma. And with intergenerational trauma, we are carrying the scars without necessarily being wounded, if that makes sense. It's like we are carrying scars, we're carrying all this baggage that happened to our family, to people that we know. These are the lessons and everything that gets passed down. And a lot of times with codependency and people pleasing, that feeling of you need to take care of your family in spite of yourself gets passed down. For many of my clients who are mothers, they remember their own mothers sacrificing, giving of themselves. And they end up doing the same thing. And they say, but it's not working. And the comment I always have is, it wasn't working for your mother either. She just didn't have the same communication you had. She didn't have the same safe space that you had to say it's not working. Many of our relatives struggled with codependency and people pleasing as well, feeling like they have to always be together. And they put that on us. But the coping skills that we have compared to the coping skills they have are very different. And that's the reason why it's not working for us. But even in moments like that, we have to ask ourselves, where are these patterns coming from? Why does everything have to look this way? Is this something that I've been taught in my family? Is this something that I have put on myself now that's no longer serving me? These are the questions that bring us to having moments of reflection, where we really can ask ourselves what's working and what's not. And so I am just super excited to just be supporting you on your journey. Hey, Victoria, thank you for joining. Thank you, everybody who came in. I haven't went live in a really long time, and so I just wanted to talk about this so that people can understand that healing looks different for all of us, but there are certain steps that we have to go through. Oh, hey, friend, good to see you. Thank you for joining, Walter. But there are certain steps that we have to go through, right? It's like grieving the life that we wanted to have. We have to go through that. Now, I mean, you get to pick and choose when you do it. But whenever you decide to do it, it will bring on a level of self-awareness that is going to help you heal. That essentially is when the healing starts. It's like we grieve the life we wish we had, and then we become more self-aware. And all the questions that you ask yourself are about you. And this is, I know it feels like work, but this is the fun part. This is the fun part, to ask yourself, what do I want my life to look like? Am I living the life that I always dreamed I would live? If not, why not? What's been a hindrance? What's been a barrier to me living that life? What are some things that I need to resolve within myself? You know, why do I feel like I have to defend myself? Why do I feel like I have to control things in a relationship? Why do I feel like things have to look a certain way in order for me to like be comfortable? And none of this is from a judgmental level. This is just you literally gaining a deeper understanding for yourself. That's what this is. You know, we want healthy relationships. We want healthy friendships. You know, we want all these things. But many of us don't understand that we get these things by first having them with yourself. Sitting down with yourself. Right? Out here dating at 39 is completely different than 29. You know what I'm saying? Like at 29, again, you know, you buy me a cheeseburger and pick me up. Oh my God. I'm in love. This person cares about me, you know. But it's like at 39, I'm just like, okay, we went to dinner. It's a nice place. Thanks for the ride. But who are you? You know, I don't get distracted by the fun times anymore, you know. Oh, he smells good. He looks good. Yeah, he smells good and he looks good, but who are you? You know, can we have a dialogue? Are you somebody I'm going to be able to call in the middle of the day when I'm having a horrible day at work, right? Even when we think about friends, it's like when we have friends that want to hang out all the time and do fun activities, that's cool. But it's like, who are we really hanging with, you know? Because what I really want to try to help you avoid is you get to a space in your healing journey where you understand that the relationships you're in, the friendships that you're in, you may not necessarily have been in if you would have known who you are and knew what you needed. But now you're in a space where you've been friends with these people for a long time, you've been in a relationship with this person for a long time, and you have that feeling like, well, I want to try to make this work. The person is not necessarily doing anything bad to me. They're not hurting me. They're not, you know, verbally, you know, abusive or nothing like that. It's just that I see I'm a completely different person. And I've been in that space, still in that space. And it's very awkward. And I mean, and it's a part of life, right? It's a part of life. We have to kind of take the good that people have and fit it into my life, right? Fit it into your life, right? Many of the people that I'm friends with, that I'm connected with, they don't know TJ Self-Care, Tanisha. I'll never be that Tanisha to them. And that's good in a sense. And then also, I have to understand, but I have a need to process my feelings and emotions that this particular group may not always want to do, or may not want to do, or they may not feel like it's relevant to do, right? So now how can I meet my need by creating new friendships, new dynamics, being a part of new communities where that need is still met, right? And all this is a part of life, you know. Hey, Mocha Princess, thank you for joining. I love everybody. You know, I got friends on the live right now. I love all my friends and my family, but I'm just giving you the example to say, if you can avoid that, right, then why not do it? You know, it's like if you're at a space where you starting from scratch and you trying to build up your community, my first tip to you is spend time with yourself. right? And we've done a live. I've done a live talking about this. I don't know if I saved it, but I need to do a YouTube video so that you can watch it anytime. I can refer people to it because we did a live. How many people was on a live? Mocha, was you here when we was talking about how to date yourself? Baby steps of spending time with yourself. We talked about this already, but I'll break it down real quick. It's like, I'll save this live. You said don't tear up. I know, right? But we start off with baby steps, right? It's like you may spend 1 hour with yourself, and you can do whatever you want to do. You may just want to get up early one weekend or something, fix yourself a nice breakfast, watch TV, or you may want to take a bath or something. You start off with 1 hour. 1 hour turns into 3 hours. 3 hours turns into half a day. Half a day turns into a whole day. And every single time you do it, choose something that you've always wanted to do. And then you do that by yourself, right? Now, for me, I've been doing this for a long time. So I only plan days. I plan days by myself. I had one day where I took myself to Chinatown in San Francisco. I had a nice dinner. I went to this candlelight symphony that was really nice. I walked around Chinatown, did a little bit of shopping. I bought these little cute little teacups or whatever. While I was in a teacup shop, I was talking to this older Chinese lady or whatever. She was telling me, the proper way to cook chow mein, and I was taking notes or whatever. And 2 other women were just intrigued, I guess that this black girl was trying to figure out how do you authentically cook, chow mein. So we all sat at the table because it was like a tea shop, but they also sold tea, right? So we sat at the table. I started drinking tea with these fun, Chinese women that were I think in their late 70s, probably early 80s. 3 of them didn't speak a lick of English at all. They only speak Cantonese. But I had a great time. It was fun. They gave me some free tea. Just a whole experience, saying that I had shared a moment, with people that I didn't even know. And I had a moment of reflection for myself because even though these women were of a different demographic, a different, culture, they embraced me during a moment that I really needed. That time I needed older women around me. And they gave me that in their own way, even though they couldn't even really speak English, just the subtle touches, the tea, the laughs, the gestures, we had a moment and it was beautiful, and then I took myself to a bar. I had a beer at the bar or whatever, sat at the bar or whatever, 2 people came. They was at the symphony. We started talking about how great the symphony was and all that. And then I called myself an Uber and I came home, So it was it's a great moments that we have in those moments. So this is why we spend time alone. In those moments, that's really you spending time with your inner self. So you can see that you can trust yourself to take care of yourself. You can choose what you want. There's nobody around that you asking, do you like this? Do you like that? Do you want to go here? You ain't got to worry about nobody for a minute. Your inner self needs that. You know what I'm saying? That's why we have these moments. Do something that you want to do. Go somewhere that you want to go to. We're talking about one day out of 364. Think about the amount of days, that's in a year. Or even break it down to a month. It's 30 days in a month. You mean to tell me your inner child don't deserve 3 days? Come on. And you can break up them 3 days any way you want. I like to do all day experiences. But it could be 2 hours here, 4 hours here. Why do you always have to walk with one of your friends or one of your spouses? You can't turn on your own stuff and walk by yourself. Listen to your audiobooks. Listen to your favorite song. I was out there walking the other day. It was just me and Anita Baker and God and the sun. And we had a great time. I was out there, my angel. You couldn't tell me nothing. I was letting the sun hit my face. I had a great time. A great time. Came back and took my little lavender bath, honey, and went to sleep. Had a great time. It's like, we gotta be able to have these little experiences, you know what I'm saying? Because it helps us get in tune with ourselves. It helps us trust ourselves. It helps us tell ourselves that, yes, I am important. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's almost like you tending to a younger child. You gotta spend time with that child. You know? We want to have these adult lives where we're open and transparent and honest and expressing our feelings and not holding anger. Well, you first have to do that with yourself. When you tend to your own needs, things become irrelevant. You know what I'm saying? We get high strung on the way people talk to us, the way people engage with us, the things going on with our job, because we're not tending to that inner self. We're not tending to those needs. So we're already activated. When you come to work, you already on 7 or 8. That's why when your coworker send an email or your, supervisor send that email, you reading through that email and you seeing a whole nother thing than what they really saying. That's why we have these moments. We have these moments because we're not tending to self. Okay, so Affinity T said, I get a 1 hour massage once a month. Mocha said, I love spending time with myself. Yeah, and it's not a lot of time, and I'm definitely not saying like every time you go out, be by yourself. But I'm saying, 12 hours, 20 hours out of the month. Just be with you. That's where we get renewed. That's where we get peace. That's where we have those conversations. We do that self-parenting. I told you, when my one friend told me that, my first response was, what? It's time to cut this person off. I'm sick of this crowd. I'm tired of dealing with this. What is she talking about? If there was an award for BFF of the month, of the year, I would get it. Everybody wants to be my friend. She's crazy. Who was that? That was 14, 15, 16-year-old Tanisha, who is shocked, devastated. What? I don't want to deal with this person. But when I really sat with myself, which I did, when I walked, I got a coffee, I sat at Starbucks, I said, dang, you know what? I think I probably have. Like, she's right. Dang. There has been a lot of times I haven't came through. And then the question is, well, Tanisha, why is that though? Why have you been struggling? And then that's when it came to me. Because you haven't been setting boundaries. You've been talking on the phone for 3-4 hours when you got other stuff to do. So it's like all of this awareness that we have, accepting who we are, it actually helps us to better set the boundary, right? Now you can have that open conversation. You come into that person and you saying, hey, you know what? You're right, whatever your situation is. I did overreact, or I did yell at you, or I have been controlling. I remember I had a client who, she had an issue like that. All her friends kept telling her she was controlling. And I said, well, are you? And she said, of course not. And I said, well, let's just think about it. Let's just say, right? Let's just say this person is right. Let's just say it. And you're controlling. why do you feel like you might be controlling? And when we talked about it, it manifested into she cannot count on people to come through when she needs them to come through. These people have let her down. And so the conversation is then, you're right, I am controlling. And I realize I'm controlling because there's been a lot of times that when I'm not, I can't count on you to show up. So I learned that if I set the date, I set the location, I send you the email, I do all these things, that will make you be there. And that is controlling. And I don't deserve to do that. So you see, by you just accepting whatever somebody telling you, when you come to the person, it don't change. It doesn't turn into this thing where they're right and you're wrong and you need to do better. It turns into a moment of awareness where, you know what? Damn, you right. I don't ever come through for you, or I am controlling. And here's what I've concluded. I am controlling because of X, Y, Z that you do. And I don't deserve to be in this dynamic. And this is what I need in order for it to change. It creates a whole opportunity for us to really see who are we in relationship with. When we don't take feedback, when we cut people off, when we block people, you stop. You automatically stop any healing that you can get from this experience. So the learning, the self-awareness, all of that, you just chop it right on off at the head. It doesn't even happen anymore. And that's what I want you to stop doing. When things happen, I want you to explore it. Just walk into it. You know, somebody say you controlling, okay, let's go with it. Somebody say, you know, well, you don't show up for me, okay, let's talk about it. And I'm not saying immediately talk about it with that person. I'm saying walk into the experience yourself and ask yourself, am I doing this for real? And when you start doing this work, it is going to feel like you talking to a little kid. Because I'm telling you, when I first started doing this work, it felt like I was talking to a little kid. Like, Tanisha, did you do that? Did you really cuss that person out, girl? Yeah. Why? They made me bad. They said so and so. So when people do that, that's when it's time to set a boundary. I'm telling you right now, you're going to feel crazy for a minute, because I did. I was like, what? It's like, because you constantly have to check yourself like you would check a little kid. Did you do that? You know, why are you overgiving to this person? Are you scared that if you don't, they going to leave? Yeah. What if they do leave? If they leave, you're going to be okay. You still got yourself. You still got other people. Yeah, you're right. And then we make the decision. We're going to stop people pleasing. Or we're going to set better boundaries. And not rigid, but better, right? Let me see. I'm missing I'm sorry. Mocha said, how do you stop healing from blocking someone if you tell them to stop contacting you and they don't? That's a good question. Then, okay, getting by. Oh, hey, sis. I didn't even know you was here. Because it may not be accurate, but there is some truth behind it, because that's how that person is experiencing you. Yes, that's true. Let me answer this question. How do you stop healing from blocking someone if you tell them to stop contacting you and they don't? So, you know, with that one, it's a different dynamic. I mean, if you tell somebody to stop contacting you and they still contacting you, my first thought is have a conversation with the person about why they still contacting you. Like, hear them out, because they contacting you for a reason. But once you've done that and you've been clear with that person about, I don't want you to contact me, blocking them may be the only thing left to do, you know. But I do just want to say this for safety purposes. When we dealing with people like the blocking or the calling, and they're still calling you, it's the safety measure I want you to take to have a conversation with the person. And I only say that because you want to try to de-escalate whatever emotions they're feeling, unless you just know that this person is not a safe person. Because most of the time, the people that continue to call you, continue to reach out to you, they have some mental health going on that may be undiagnosed, or it may be diagnosed and you just don't know about it. And by you continuing to reject them, it's a trigger. And I just don't want it to turn into a situation where this person is now approaching your job, or they're approaching your house, or they're reaching out to other people to contact you. Because when people who struggle with mental health, when they constantly feel rejected, that's a really, really big trigger that does not always end up well. So that's the only reason why I say, hear them out first. And if they keep doing it, then you may have to block them, because, there's no other way really to deal with it. But the blocking that I was referring to, though, isn't more so when somebody is like being just blankly crossing our boundaries. It's when somebody makes us upset. And because we can't handle the conversation, we block them. That was the blocking I was referencing, of trying to limit that. It's like when somebody says something we don't like and we feel like the only alternative is to block them. I just encourage you to just try to embrace it, right? And listen, I'm not perfect, you know what I'm saying? I used to block people all the time. I don't block people anymore, but I absolutely delete their phone numbers from my phone. I delete the text messages, and I do that because it's triggering for me to continue. I'll continue to read the text message over and over again and be like, Tanisha, you should have said that. You see where they said this? You should have said that. So to prevent myself from going through all that intrusive, crazy thoughts that I have, I just delete the text message thread altogether. I delete the phone number altogether. And hey, that's not necessarily the best method either. But I'm keeping the lines open. If the person reaches out to me, I'm available. Right now, that's something that I'm working on. So I don't want you to do that, but I'm just being transparent about I'm not perfect either. But Tanisha would block the person on my phone. I would delete all the pictures in my phone. I would delete all the pictures on social media. I would delete them and block them from my social media. And then, I would just go about life like, la, la, la. Everything is fine. And that worked for a really long time. But as I built my own self-awareness, that started to bother me. I was like, Tanisha, is this really the level that we own? I think I was 34 or 35, and I was like, is this what I want to keep doing the rest of my life? So anytime somebody make you mad or say something you don't like, they just get blocked, like, forever. And then you see the person in the street or whatever, you ain't heard from you, and in my mind, it's over, right? And sometimes, because my self-esteem was so low, I would think that the person didn't care about being my friend no way. So I see them on the street, hey girl, how you doing? And they, oh, hey Tanisha, yeah, yeah, I didn't hear from you after da-da-da-da-da. What? Oh girl, that was... And it'd be so embarrassing. We can laugh now. Mocha said I do that too. We read and I say I shouldn't have. Right. It's like, I can laugh about it now, but it used to be so embarrassing. And I really had to sit down like with my own therapist to be like, what is this about? And I was mad that she couldn't tell me. I'm like, I'm paying you $130 a session, and you can't tell me what this is about. But the answers was within me. It was I had to ask myself, what is this about? Because I even went to the, Tina laughing too, I even went to the codependency group, because I love hanging out with older women. And it's so funny because now I've become one of my younger friends, she's 32, and she told me I'm like her mentor. I'm like, damn, I'm hitting this age of 40, so now I'm the older woman, so I be feeling like I gotta be extra responsible with my younger friends. But anyway, I went to the group, right? And it was this lady, she was like 50 or whatever. And I was talking to her and I was telling her, And she was like, you got to sit down with yourself, Tanisha. She was like, you got to pray. You got to journal. She was like, you got to ask yourself, are these conversations triggering? Like, what are these people saying that always make you want to block them? And I was like, man, she putting it back on me. You know, I felt like I didn't have no space for somebody to just hear me. But I came home and did the work. I did what she said. I did the journaling. And I said, oh, they're telling me it's my fault that I'm in this codependent relationship, and I don't want to hear that. I want to hear, Tanisha, so sorry you're going through this, can't believe, you're going through this. And they telling me, well, this is your fault and this is what you need to do, and I don't like it. I don't like it. But I learned in that even the hard conversations that people say we don't like is still a moment for growth, right? So maybe it's like blocking is not necessarily the response. Maybe it's more so I need to hang out with people that can kind of help me get through this grief period. And then that friend that's firm and very blunt, I'll be able to handle them better. See, a lot of times we're not aware that it's really not about cutting off friends. It's about knowing when you need certain friends in different seasons. The season of life that I'm in right now, I can handle all my friends. Because at the end of the day, I know how to tell myself, well, it sounds really cold, but I know she loves me. Or this person is going through this. This is why it sounds so rigid right now. Or this person, Tanisha, they're an engineer. They're in a whole nother field. They don't know anything about thoughts or feelings. They're literally hearing you in distress, and so they're trying to create a strategy for you. They don't know how to process feelings, right? It's like a lot of times when we're kind of in those really infant phases, I want to say, of healing, we tend to feel like we can process with everybody. We can, talk to everybody, and it's going to be the same way. And it's not like that. Sweetness said we need a group chat. Yeah, probably do. But it's not, maybe I can think about creating that on Instagram. But we don't get that, right? Like for me, many of you who maybe have worked with me or you've been following me for a long time, I am a person people come to when they feel broken. When life is just crazy, I am that friend that's going to say, oh my God, are you all right? I'm going to listen to you. I'm going to offer support if you need it. I'm going to offer strategy if you want it. It's like however my friends feel about their life, I tend to just lean in. How you feel? Well, I feel angry. Okay, let's talk about the anger. Or I feel good. Okay, well, let's talk about the good, right? And then as they continue to talk about stuff, I try to gain insight and perspective. But if you are at a place where you want to have fun, you want to have a good time, you want to plan a party, I'm not that friend. Like, I'm not the turn-up friend. I'm not like really the socializing friend, which is why a lot of my friends are turn up people, because that's something I don't have, right? So it's like, as you start to heal, try to find your group. I mean, I have a Facebook group that I try to cultivate a space where people feel like they have a group to talk to. But we all have to find that space for ourselves that feels good. Find your group of people that you can go on your healing journey with, that do want to process, that do want to talk about stuff, that do want to, try to find strategies to feel better. Your day-to-day friends probably are not going to be that group. And this is why. The reason why I say your day-to-day friends may not be that group is because that's what you bring more than likely to the group. Codependency and people-pleasing, it gets a negative agenda attached to it, meaning attached to it. But we have many strengths. And one of the biggest strengths that we have is that we're able to empathize with people in very deep ways that the average person cannot. Many of us have the gift of discernment. We can tell when things are not right with someone, and we tune into that, and we do the best we can to try to make sure that everybody that we know feels good. Many of us are empaths. Like we just have that gift, and so you may find that that's what you bring to your friend group. Now, if you are somebody that your friend group is also empaths and people pleasers, then you may be okay. But more than likely, you don't, because that's what we bring to the group. So you may have to find a group of people that can support you and guide you. I don't encourage you to do the work alone. So I was in groups. I had a therapist. I had a coach. My coach told me about the codependency groups. So I went to if you're interested in finding a codependency anonymous group, it's coda.org, I'll put it here, CODA.org. Now, for my people that are out of the U.S., I don't know if this website can help you find one in other countries. It might, but I know. But if you're in the U.S., you can put in your zip code, and all the codependency groups will pop up. It will pop up in your area. So, but I did codependency groups. It was a 12-step group, and yeah, and after the groups, I was okay. I was just doing groups and therapy, and after a while, felt like I wasn't getting anything out of therapy. I needed tools. Like, I had processed enough, and I was ready to get action steps tools. So that's when I hired the coach. I worked with the coach, and I was doing a group. So, I did it all. I did it all. I was reading books. I got this book right now that's really good. It's called Healing Trauma Through Self-Parenting, The Codependency Connection. So take a screenshot, this book. This is a really good book here. The author's name is Patricia Gorman and Phyllis Diaz. So, two dynamic authors here. So this book is really good. Well, as you can see, I love to read. I got a whole bunch of different books for healing. But I read books. I still have my coach. I still have my therapist. So I built a community. But it's really important for you to have that. I want to invite you. I have my group on Facebook. So I'm trying to get more people to share more and engage more, build relationships, with each other. So if you would like to join the Facebook group, please join the Facebook group. I have a new workshop that's coming out soon. I'm going to be talking more about that. It's called Healing While Dealing with Life. Really excited about this workshop. I haven't done one in a while, and I've been trying to find a topic that would kind of speak to people. And I have a growing group of people that are healing and really just need tools to live day to day. So that was one of the reasons why I decided to have this workshop. So the workshop will be in October. I'm thinking early October, so before the holidays for sure. So I'm excited about the workshop. I'll be going live more often. So the book is called Healing Trauma Through Self-Parenting. It's really good. The authors do a really good job of breaking down. So I highlighted one part that really stood out to me. It said, it says, your inner child will resist looking at things from a positive point of view. Negativity is what your inner child has been taught. But remember, this is a learned behavior, and what you learn, you can unlearn. It will take a conscious effort, but if you work your inner child, but if you work with your inner child by self-parenting him or her to view the world differently, you will see fantastic results in all the areas of your life. Learning to see bad things is temporary, and teaching your inner child that you are not a victim of life will help you understand that you can dream any life you want and make it a reality. I said, wow, isn't that powerful? I like that. I like that. So, at any rate, I don't want to keep you guys for a long time. Just wanted to make sure that I share some information about this healing journey. As always, if you have any questions or if there's any topics in particular you want to talk about, please let me know. So I will be, for those of you who may not know, I do have a podcast. So follow, let me put it here, Heal, Pray, Grow Podcast. It popped up. Heal, Pray, Grow Podcast is the name of the podcast. Oh, so true. I struggle with worst case scenarios thinking. Need this book. Yeah, it's a really, really good book. Yeah, it's talking about, so some of the information, because there's a part of the workshop where we're talking about self-parenting, and how to do it, what it looks like. And so I never like to create a workshop based on just what's in my mind, because that's only my experience. I like to make sure the things that I'm sharing, the things that I'm talking about is something, across the board, so that I'm giving you like a full circle, experience of the topic. So I always use other authors, and I need to do a better job of actually quoting these authors to give them their credit. But I always, create workshops based on what I want to talk to you about, and then I use articles and books to kind of just help strengthen what we're talking about. So that's probably coming from school, all the research, I had to do. I'm glad all those nights paid off for something, right? There I was, at 20, 27, 28, staying up till 3 o'clock in the morning thinking that I'm doing all this research for a paper. And lo and behold, it was just baby steps, practice steps, to a bigger plan that God had for me to be doing research to help other people heal, or for Him to help you heal, because it's not me. I'm just the vessel. It's Him. But I appreciate Him using me as a vessel. It makes me feel better, I'll tell you that, for all those nights I used to stay up. My friends used to laugh at me like, hey, we would get a book and we would only have to read like 4 chapters of the book, and I'd be that person that would read the whole book. Oh my God, this book was amazing, and it talked about da-da-da, and my eyes be like bloodshot red or whatever, because I would have stayed up all night. But it paid off. It paid off. Now I know how to research. So, but yeah, healing trauma through self-parenting. Matter of fact, let me put it here. Healing trauma through self-parenting. Now, I will say this. They also have an audio book, but the audio book, it could be hard to get into because they use some type of robot to say the book, and so it can get really, really distracting. Trying to put the authors' names in here, it could get really, really distracting if you're not like really committed to listening to the book. But they do have an audio book, and if you can get through like the robotic, voice, then you definitely should get it. So thank you guys so much for joining the live. Let me read the comments. So Sweet Jones said, thank you so much. You're welcome. Love Bears All Gifts said, learning why is helpful. Glad you found TJ Self-Care. 6 Football Mom said, healing starts when you're open to giving the effort it takes to be better and do better or get better. Thank you for sharing your comment. And then Tina said, okay, great. So there's no, I don't see any questions or anything. Well, thank you guys so much. Be on the lookout. So I got a couple updates. So the new book is coming. I'm excited about that. The new book will be coming in December. I'm gonna start working on the book design with my editor. The book title is Healing Doesn't Look Like That. So I'm thinking about having like different color puzzle pieces on the book. Maybe having like words in the puzzles. I don't know yet. But I get 5 different designs. So I'm going to show you guys all 5 designs. I feel like this is our book. I've been writing this thing for so long. But what I didn't get is I had to live out certain experiences in order to write about it. So that's why it took so long. Because I kept asking, like, why do I keep rewriting? That's why it took so long, because I would read it and I would be like, this doesn't make any sense. The editor would be like, I don't like it. And then I would be like, I don't like it. And so then I just kept writing. I just kept rewriting it. Hey, Daisy, thank you for joining. Hello. Football Mom said use different mirrors. Yeah, that's a good option too. So yeah, I'm just gonna have fun playing with different designs, and then I'm gonna let you guys see them and check it out. So the book should be out in December. I'm redoing my podcast, so Heal Pray Grow podcast will officially be over. So I'm gonna record the last episode this week. It will be over, and we will be doing Moments of Reflection podcast. Very excited. I'm going to launch it September 25th. I'm going to record some clips and let you guys check it out. I'm going to continue on the same, Instagram page, same link. I'm just going to keep going and change it up. So as of right now, I have 6 guests that will be on the podcast with me. I'm excited about that. I'm going to have a launch. I'm going to have a virtual launch for the podcast where we record it live so people can see it in live. So I'm really excited about that. And what else did I want to say? Oh, and the blog. So the blog I'm going to launch my blog September 18th. So it's just so many fun, exciting things coming. So I haven't been posting a lot. I haven't been doing a lot because I've been reconstructing my life. I realized that even in my business, the codependency sneaks up on you, and I realized that even within my business, I was kind of allowing Instagram and social media to make me feel like I had to post all the time. I had to do all these fun videos. I had to do all these videos dancing and everything. And I'm like, Tanisha, this is not you. This is not me. So I had to take a step back and ask myself, what do I want to do? And I love to write. So I was like, I really need to be taking people on that journey. So it's like for people who love to read, I'll have my blog. For people that love podcasts, I'll have the podcast. So I'm really excited. I'm super excited to launch all these things this month. September is going to be an amazing month of new content. This is the last quarter of the year. I feel like we all need to start strong. We need to start strong. in our healing journeys. If you have been struggling with healing for a while, I want you to follow me, turn on your post notifications, and let's all heal together. Nobody is the expert. You know what I'm saying? Like, I have the information, and then you utilize it in your life the way that you see fit. I don't want you to feel like the way I'm healing is the way you have to heal. You may not want to, grieve. You may want to just jump into, acceptance of it and letting it go and move on. And then later you'll come back to the grief. Hey, that's fine. However you want to do it. I'm just going to bring you guys along my journey. And for anybody who wants to come, I will be here. That's where I'm at with it. So when I thought about what I want my ending to look like, that'll be an activity we do in the workshop, starting with the end. Like, what do we want people to remember about us? When I did that for myself, I said, you know what? Like, considering I don't have kids and I don't think I will, at least not physically, I want my ending, like when I leave, I want to leave a trademark. I want to be able to continue to help people even when I'm not physically on this earth anymore. And when I thought about that, I said, well, a book lasts forever. A book gets passed down. People share books with each other all the time. And it's a way for people to use my life and my experiences and create their own. And when I thought about it like that, I was like, well, I really don't need to be on social media dancing to the latest song and trying to come up with all these cool videos. I don't need to do that. All I need to do is write. And so I decided that that's what I want to do. And then I figured, well, how can I turn writing into a way where people can actively be with me? And I said, well, hey, you can blog. So that's what I decided to do. And I'm excited about it. I think it's going to be a great way to support you. And yeah, so thank you guys for following me. And I will save this live. And I look forward to seeing all your beautiful names and hopefully your beautiful faces one day in a workshop or on the next live. And I will talk to you next time. Have a great Wednesday. Bye.